Hi there. Okay, so chapter 34, Gerda had gone to Anna's house and was trying to look at the death strip, get the measurement of the death strip. But in the process, Anna came back in and said that she thought maybe she had some clothes that she could give to Gerda. And then Gerda recognized that the boots had fresh mud on them and soon realized that maybe Anna's intentions weren't so pure, or maybe she was spying on Gerda to turn her in. So chapter 34, a disaster seldom comes alone, German proverb. My tears had dried by the time I told Fritz the story shortly afterwards, which is a good thing because he wasn't showing much sympathy for whether I held on to a friend I was going to abandon soon anyways. His larger concern was for the dirt on Anna's boots. Are you sure the mud was on different boots than when she came to see you before? Positive, the mud wasn't old. Not over a day, I'd bet. You should have asked her about it. Asked her for what exactly, I retorted. If she knows about the tunnel, she was going to turn us into Stasi because I didn't need to say a word. The answer to both was pretty obvious. Okay, calm down. Fritz and I were in the basement of our own apartment building. This was our own sanctuary since Frau Herberhart patrolled the sidewalks and since we weren't yet sure which was more dangerous inside of our apartment, the microphones or Mama. We had to assume that Anna knows and that sooner or later she's going to tell someone. Whether it's the Stasi or not, it'll eventually get back to them. Mueller will come with them, my voice wavered, revealing too much of my fear to him. He already told us that he'll do what he has to do when it happens. And then we have to finish, and fast, Fritz paced a moment, then finally sighed and shook his head. Did you get a chance to measure the death strip? Sort of. Anna came in before I finished, but I got a good start. It was hard because I got distracted a couple of times, and I thought, how wide, he said. 100 meters? Fritz let out a low whistle and almost staggered to a nearby crate where he could sit down. We're not even halfway. He cursed and he kicked another box next to him. Hoping to keep his spirits up, I said, Let's dig it smaller, then. We can walk that distance hushed over, or even crawl through. That'll help, Fritz said, but we need to take a week's off of our time, not days. What if we ask Officer Mueller to dig with us? We can't trust him. He told us that himself. I shook my head fiercely. With a shovel in one hand and a gun in the other, which will he use when Anna calls the officers to check out the tunnel? You told me that you got distracted. Maybe you were off on your count. I might have been off by a few meters, but not 20 or 30. And I know I was accurate almost to the halfway point because there was this big dark circle spot in the strip, almost where our tunnel ended. For the first time, I thought about the chance of that, of a dark spot so close to the tunnel. That couldn't be a coincidence. Fritz has caught on as well. What do you mean a dark spot? I saw it from far away, but that's just what it looked like at the time. My breath became shallow as I realized what I must have seen. But I don't think it's a spot. It might be a shadow. I think the ground is sinking where we've been digging. Fritz leapt to his feet. Okay, we've got to go and see it for ourselves. Even as I followed him, I said, We're not allowed to go there. Mama doesn't. There's no time to explain. If the tunnel collapses while we're inside, or if the Grenzers notice the dark spot and come to investigate, I shuddered. Either way, we are dead. The only exception that I could see was if Mother figured out we had gone to the tunnel in defiance of her orders. Then we wouldn't have to worry about the Grenzers. She'd get us first and do worse than the police ever could. Fritz and I hurried along the street, got to the block that emptied into the back lot of the Welcome Building, and then crept along the wall to get inside. I wish we could just peek through the wall from here, carve out a big hole enough to see if it had an X marks the spot for our secret beneath the ground. But we would have to content ourselves with entering the tunnel and looking for any sign that the ground was sinking. My biggest worry was that from within the tunnel, the collapse wouldn't be noticeable. If we couldn't find it, then we couldn't fix it. I scanned the roof of the tunnel. Instantly, everything became suspicious to me. Why was that one area lower than the other? Exposed rock jutted out overhead to my left. Was it new? So far, everything looked how it had when we dug this section, Fritz assured me, but that didn't make me feel any better. We finally found the sunken area at the end of the tunnel, around where the pipe had been nicked. Endless litter of water had sprayed so powerfully here, we probably should have expected it to affect the ground stability overhead. will be caught for sure, Fritz said. Maybe Officer Mueller can explain it away. I didn't necessarily believe he would, but maybe it was the best of a horrible option we still had. How deep did the dark spot look? I don't know. Not very, but it does look different from the area around it. Maybe we can brace it up, or at least do something to keep it from falling any further. How? Fritz already had the answer. I'm a bricklayer. I can build supports overhead, maybe even raise some places if the ground is still soft. But the bricks will be expensive and too suspicious to purchase. There's bricks upstairs, I said. Maybe even a bag of mortar, too. Then I'll get started right away, Fritz said. Help me get it carried downstairs. I was already on my way. Oh, okay, but they need to be digging. They can't be building a support. They need to be digging. He already said they're not even halfway, they don't think. We don't have much of the book left. Look. We don't have much of the book left. So, what's going to happen? Okay, remember tomorrow is a quiz, 5-question quiz over what we've heard from the book. Thanks for listening.